Kim Day walked through the dirty corridors of Frontier Station with heavy steps. His old military boots made clicking sounds on the metal floor. At 67 years old, his back hurt and his knees creaked, but his eyes still burned with determination. Today was the day he would do something that had been eating at his heart for months. The slave market stank of fear and desperation. Day had seen many terrible things during his 40 years as a soldier, but this place made his stomach turn. Aliens of different species were locked in energy cages, their eyes empty of hope. Some were injured, others looked sick. All of them looked broken. Day pulled out his old data pad and checked his bank account one more time. Every credit he had saved during his retirement was there. His small pension, the money from selling his apartment on Earth, even the credits from his old war medals. Everything he owned in the universe was about to disappear today. A fat alien trader with 4 arms and yellow skin noticed him looking around. The creature's voice was oily and fake-friendly. "Welcome, human. Looking for some cheap labor? Got some real bargains today. Strong workers, very obedient." Day's jaw tightened. He had fought against slavers during the border wars 20 years ago. Back then, he thought he had helped end this evil business. Apparently he was wrong. "Show me what you have," Day said quietly. The trader's eyes lit up with greed. He led Day past dozens of cages until they reached a section marked with alien writing. "These 3 are special. Been here for months. Nobody wants them because they have problems." In the first cage sat a young woman with blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Strange crystal patterns covered her arms and face like beautiful tattoos. Her name tag read, "Hana Etherian Female, Defective Vision." She was blind in one eye, making her worthless for precision work. The second cage held a woman who looked almost human, except for her cat-like ears, golden eyes, and the soft fur covering her arms. Her tag said, "Mira Nexari Female, Aggressive Behavior." She had apparently attacked 3 previous owners who tried to hurt her. The third woman was the smallest, barely reaching Day's shoulder. She had pale green skin and large, sad eyes. Her tag read, "Yuna Vorthan Female, Uncontrolled Telepathy." She could read minds but couldn't turn it off, making her owners uncomfortable. "How much for all 3? Day asked. The trader's 4 eyes widened in surprise. "All 3, sir. These are damaged goods. The blue one can barely see, the cat girl is violent, and the small one gives everyone headaches with her mind tricks." I asked how much. The trader calculated quickly on his device. 15,000 credits for the lot. That's practically giving them away. Day transferred the money without hesitation. His entire life savings vanished in seconds. The trader looked shocked that anyone would pay so much for defective merchandise. Other traders gathered around to watch the crazy human who just bought 3 problem slaves. They whispered and laughed among themselves. One pointed at Day and made jokes about humans being soft and stupid with their money. Day ignored them all. He had the cage keys now, and that was all that mattered. As he walked toward the 3 women, he saw something change in their eyes. Not hope exactly, but curiosity. Most buyers barely looked at slaves as individuals. This old human was different somehow. Hana tilted her head, studying him with her good eye. Mira stopped pacing in her cage and watched him carefully. Yuna seemed to flinch, as if his thoughts were too loud in her sensitive mind. "Don't worry," Day said softly as he unlocked the first cage. "Everything is going to be different now." The watching traders burst into laughter. "Different? Good luck with those 3 troublemakers, old man. You'll be back here selling them within a week." But Day wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about his grandfather's stories of human slavery on Earth centuries ago. He remembered the pictures in history books of people in chains, families torn apart, dignity destroyed. He had spent his whole military career fighting to protect human freedom. Now he would do the same for others. As the 3 alien women stepped out of their cages for the first time in months, none of them could imagine that this strange old human would change their lives forever. They just knew that for the first time in years, someone had looked at them and seen people instead of property. The real journey was about to begin. The transport ship landed on Haven Colony with a gentle thud. Kim Day stepped out first, breathing in the fresh air of his small farming world. The three alien women followed hesitantly behind him, still wearing the simple grey clothes from the slave market. They had barely spoken during the 3-day journey, unsure what this strange human planned to do with them. Day's farm wasn't much to look at. A small house made of local stone, several fields of earth vegetables, and a barn for his equipment. It was quiet and peaceful, surrounded by rolling hills and purple grass that swayed in the evening breeze. After the noise and smell of Frontier Station, this place felt like another universe. "Welcome to your new home," Day said, picking up his travel bag. Hannah, the blue-skinned woman, looked around with her good eye. "Our quarters are in the barn?" Day stopped walking and turned to face them. "Quarters? No, you'll stay in the house. There are 3 empty bedrooms upstairs. Take whichever ones you like." The 3 women exchanged confused glances. Mira's cat-like ears twitched nervously. "Where do you want us to work first? The fields cleaning?" "Work?" Day shook his head. "You don't have to work. You're free now." Una, the small telepathic woman, winced and pressed her hands to her temples. Reading Day's mind was like staring into bright sunlight. His thoughts were too honest, too clear. She couldn't find any hidden motives or cruel intentions. It hurt her head because she wasn't used to such genuine kindness. "Free?" Hannah whispered the word like it was a foreign language. Day set down his bag and sat on the porch steps, gesturing for them to join him. They remained standing, unsure if they were allowed to sit in his presence. "Please, sit down. We need to talk." They sat carefully on the edge of the steps, ready to jump up if he changed his mind. Day noticed their fear and spoke even more gently. "Listen, I know this is confusing. You've been slaves for a long time, but that's over now. You don't belong to me or anyone else. You belong to yourselves." Mira's golden eyes narrowed with suspicion. "What do you want in return?" "Nothing." "That's impossible. Everyone wants something." Day was quiet for a moment, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "When I was young, my people used to own each other as slaves. It was a terrible time in our history. Families were broken apart. People were treated like animals. It took us hundreds of years to learn that slavery was wrong." He turned to look at each of them. "I spent my whole life as a soldier, fighting to protect freedom. I can't enjoy my retirement knowing that slavery still exists in the galaxy. So I decided to do something about it, even if it's just helping 3 people." Una's telepathic abilities picked up fragments of his memories. She saw flashes of his military service, battles against pirates and slavers, friends who died fighting for justice. His mind was full of old pain, but also unshakable determination to do what was right. "For you're not lying," she said softly, her voice filled with wonder. "Why would I lie?" Hannah stood up suddenly, her crystal patterns glowing brighter with emotion. "If we're free, then we can leave." "Yes. I'll give you money for transport to anywhere you want to go. Back to your homeworlds, to a colony, wherever you'll be happy. And if we stay, then you stay as my guests, not my property. You eat at my table, not on the floor. You make your own choices about what to do each day." The 3 women spent that first night lying awake in real beds with soft blankets, trying to understand what had happened to them. They had lived as slaves for so long that freedom felt like wearing clothes that didn't fit properly. The next morning, Day found them all awake before dawn, standing in the kitchen, looking lost. "Good morning," he said, starting to make coffee. "Did you sleep well?" "We're ready to work," Mira said quickly. "I told you you don't have to work. Then what do we do?" Day poured himself a cup of coffee and thought about it. "What do you want?" "To do?" They stared at him blankly. No one had ever asked them what they wanted before. "I don't know," Hannah admitted. "That's okay. You have time to figure it out." But as the days passed, the 3 women found themselves naturally helping around the farm. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to understand this human who asked nothing of them. Hannah discovered she had a talent for growing things, despite her partial blindness. Mira's enhanced reflexes made her excellent at fixing broken equipment. Una used her telepathy to sense when the animals were sick or distressed. Day never ordered them to work. He never even asked. When they helped, he thanked them like they were doing him a favor. When they didn't help, he just smiled and continued with his tasks. Slowly, very slowly, they began to believe that maybe this strange old human really had set them free just because it was the right thing to do. And maybe for the first time in their lives, they were truly safe. 6 months had passed since Kim Day brought the 3 women to his farm on Haven Colony. The small homestead had transformed into something none of them expected. What started as a rescue mission had slowly become something that felt like a real family. Hannah had found her calling in the hydroponic gardens. Despite being blind in one eye, her remaining vision could see things others missed. She could tell when plants were stressed just by looking at the color of their leaves. Her blue skin seemed to glow softly when she worked among the growing vegetables, and her crystal patterns would shift color based on her mood. The crops had never grown better, and Day often found her humming ancient Etherian songs while she tended to the plants. Mira had appointed herself as the unofficial guardian of the property. Her cat-like reflexes and enhanced hearing made her perfect for spotting trouble before it arrived. She would patrol the borders of the farm each morning and evening, her golden eyes scanning for anything unusual. At first, Day worried she was being paranoid, but he learned to trust her instincts. When Mira said something was wrong, something was always wrong. Una had become Day's unexpected companion during his darkest hours. The old soldier suffered from nightmares about his wars, memories that would wake him screaming in the middle of the night. Her telepathic abilities allowed her to sense when the nightmares were coming and gently wake him before they became too intense. She would sit with him on the porch, not saying anything, just sharing the peaceful thoughts of sleeping animals and growing plants until his mind calmed down. None of them called it a family out loud, but that's what it had become. They ate meals together, shared stories about their different worlds, and worried about each other when someone was late coming home. Day had stopped talking about finding them transport to other worlds, and they had stopped asking about leaving. Everything changed on a cold morning in early spring. Mira's ears twitched as she heard the distant sound of ship engines. Not the usual supply transports that visited the colony, but something faster and more aggressive. She ran to find Day, who was fixing a water pump near the barn. "Ships coming," she said, her voice tight with worry. "Military class, 3 of them." Hannah looked up from her plants, her crystal patterns shifting to a worried purple color. Una appeared from the house, her face pale with fear. "Slavers?" Day asked, already moving toward the house where he kept his old military equipment. "Has to be," Mira replied. "The traders at Frontier Station must have told them where we went." Day's jaw hardened. He had hoped this day would never come, but he had prepared for it anyway. Old soldiers always prepared for the worst. "Get to the underground shelter," he ordered, pulling on his combat vest. "There's food and water for a week. Don't come out until I give the all clear." The 3 women looked at each other, then back at him. "No," Hannah said firmly. "What do you mean, no?" "We're not hiding while you fight alone," Mira added, her golden eyes blazing with determination. Una nodded in agreement. "This is our home, too now. We defend it together." Day felt a strange mix of pride and terror. These women had gone from broken slaves to fierce protectors in just 6 months. But he couldn't let them get hurt. "You don't understand. These aren't just criminals. They're organized slavers with military weapons. I've fought them before." "Then teach us to fight them now," Hannah said. There was no time to argue. The ships were landing in the field beyond the house, kicking up clouds of dust. Armed figures were already climbing out, their weapons gleaming in the morning sun. Day's military training kicked in like muscle memory. He quickly distributed weapons and gave rapid instructions. Mira's reflexes made her perfect for the sniper rifle. Hannah's good eye could handle the targeting system for the heavy plasma cannon. Una could use her telepathy to track enemy movements and warn them of ambushes. The slaver leader, a scarred reptilian alien with cybernetic arms, approached the house with a dozen armed soldiers. "Kim Day," he shouted, "we know you have our property. Return the 3 females and we'll let you live." Day stepped onto his porch, looking completely calm despite being outnumbered. "The only property here is mine. You're trespassing. Those slaves cost us good money. We're taking them back, over my dead body." The reptilian laughed. "That can be arranged, old man." What happened next reminded everyone why humans were both respected and feared throughout the galaxy. Day didn't just fight like a soldier. He fought like a chess master who could see 20 moves ahead. He used the terrain of his own farm like a weapon. The irrigation ditches became trenches, the storage buildings became cover, the farming equipment became improvised barriers. Every shot was calculated, every movement had purpose. Mira's sniper fire kept the enemies pinned down, while Hana's plasma cannon destroyed their landing ships, cutting off their escape route. Yuna's telepathic warnings allowed Day to predict enemy tactics before they happened. The battle lasted only 30 minutes, but it felt like hours. When the smoke cleared, the slavers were either dead or running for their lives through the purple grass. As they stood together in the aftermath, looking at the damage to their home, something had fundamentally changed. They weren't just people living together anymore. They were a family that had bled together, fought together, and protected what they had built together. So, Day said, reloading his rifle with practiced efficiency. "Anyone still want to leave?" All three women smiled, their different faces showing the same expression of fierce belonging. "This is home," Hana said simply. And it was. The seasons changed on Haven Colony, and so did the feelings growing between the four people who had become an unlikely family. What started as gratitude and friendship slowly transformed into something deeper and more complex. Kim Day noticed the changes first in small ways that made him uncomfortable. Hana began bringing him fresh flowers from her garden every morning, arranging them carefully on his desk while he drank his coffee. Her crystal patterns would glow softly pink whenever he thanked her, a color he had learned meant happiness in her species. She started asking him about his past, his dreams, his favorite foods, storing away every detail like precious treasures. Mira became more protective of him than ever before, but in a different way. She would sit closer to him during their evening talks on the porch, her golden eyes watching his face with an intensity that made his heart race. When he worked on heavy equipment, she would appear beside him to help, her touch lingering longer than necessary when their hands accidentally met. Yuna was the most obvious in her affections, though also the most gentle. Her telepathic abilities meant she could sense his emotions, even when he tried to hide them. She would appear with hot tea whenever he felt stressed, or suggest exactly the right activity when he seemed lonely. Her large eyes would follow him around the house with an expression that was unmistakably loving. Day tried to ignore what was happening. At 67 years old, he felt too weathered and worn for romance. His hair was grey, his joints ached, and he carried scars from decades of military service. These three beautiful young women deserved better than an old soldier who woke up screaming from nightmares. They're just grateful, he told himself every night. Once they fully heal from their trauma, they'll realize what they really want. But the women had other plans. One evening, as autumn painted the purple grass in shades of gold, Hana approached him with unusual nervousness. Her crystal patterns were shifting through colors he had never seen before. "Day, I need to tell you something important," she said, sitting beside him on the porch swing. "What's wrong? Are you feeling sick?" She laughed softly. "No, nothing's wrong. Everything is right, actually. That's what I want to talk about." She took his weathered hand in her smooth blue one, and her patterns began to glow with steady, warm light. "In my culture, when someone saves your life and gives you a home, we have a saying, 'The heart follows where the soul finds peace.' My soul found peace here with you. My heart followed." Day felt his chest tighten with emotions he had buried. "For years. Hana, you're young and beautiful. You have your whole life ahead of you. I'm just an old man who gave you shelter. You're the man who saw me as a person when everyone else saw damaged goods. You're the man who asks about my dreams and listens to my stories. You're the man who makes me laugh and feel safe." Her patterns pulsed brighter. "Age doesn't matter. To my people, what matters is the connection between souls." Before he could respond, Mira appeared from the shadows where she had been listening. In her culture, courtship was more direct and physical. "If we're being honest, then I'll be honest too," she said, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. "I love you, Day. Not as a rescued slave loves her savior, but as a woman loves a man." She knelt in front of him, a position that in Nexari culture showed both respect and romantic intention. "My people believe that love is proven through loyalty and partnership. I've watched you for months. I've seen your kindness, your strength, your wisdom. I've fought beside you and shared your burdens. This isn't gratitude, this is love." Una emerged from the house, carrying a small wooden box. Her telepathic abilities had been picking up everyone's emotions all evening, and the intensity was overwhelming. "I can feel what's in your heart, Day," she said softly. "You love us too, but you're afraid. Afraid we're too young, afraid we're confused, afraid you're taking advantage of us." She opened the box, revealing 3 small stones that glowed with inner light. In Vortan culture, these stones were used in the most sacred bonding ceremonies. These stones only glow when held by someone feeling true love. "Watch." She placed one stone in Hannah's hand, and it blazed with blue light. She gave another to Mira, and it shone golden like her eyes. When she held the 3rd stone herself, it pulsed with gentle green radiance. "Now you," she said, offering the stones to Day. His hands shook as he took them. One by one, each stone lit up brighter than before, responding to emotions he could no longer deny. "In all 3 of our cultures," Una continued, "it's normal for one person to love multiple partners, and for those partners to love each other as family. We're not asking you to choose between us. We're asking you to accept all of us." Day looked at the 3 women who had become his world. Hannah, with her gentle wisdom and connection to growing things. Mira, with her fierce loyalty and protective strength. Una, with her empathic gifts and healing presence. Each one had brought something unique and precious into his life. "I'm scared," he admitted finally. "I'm scared of hurting you. I'm scared of not being enough. I'm scared that this is too good to be true." Hannah's crystal patterns shifted to soft gold, the color of patience and understanding. "Then let us prove to you that it's real. Let us show you every day that our love isn't going anywhere. We have time," Mira added, "all the time in the world to build something beautiful together." Una smiled, her telepathic abilities picking up the moment his emotional walls finally crumbled. "Your heart is saying yes, even if your mind is still arguing." Under the alien stars of Haven Colony, surrounded by the 3 women who had transformed his lonely retirement into something magical, Kim Day finally stopped fighting the best thing that had ever happened to him. "Yes," he whispered, and 3 hearts began beating in perfect harmony with his own. Planning a wedding that honored 4 different cultures turned out to be more complicated than fighting slavers. Kim Day sat at his kitchen table surrounded by stacks of papers, communication devices, and 3 very excited women who each had strong opinions about how their special day should unfold. "The Etherian light ceremony must happen at sunset," Hannah insisted, her crystal patterns glowing with anticipation. "That's when our people's spiritual energy is strongest." Mira paced around the room, her cat-like energy making it impossible for her to sit still. "The Nexari bonding ritual requires 3 witnesses from each family. We'll need to contact my cousins on the Outer Rim colonies." Una held her head in her hands, overwhelmed by everyone's emotions. "The Vorthan mind-melding ceremony is very private and sacred. We can't do it in front of a crowd." Day looked at all the requirements and felt his old military logistics training kick in. "So we need sunset lighting, off-world travel arrangements, private spaces, public spaces, human, marriage officials, and alien cultural representatives, plus food that won't poison anyone. Don't forget your military friends," Hannah added with a smile. "You've been talking about inviting your old unit for months." The preparation took 3 months of careful planning and more interstellar communication than Day had done in years. His former commanding officer, Colonel Park, was the first to respond to the invitation. "Dare you, old dog," came the gruff voice over the communication channel. "4 decades I've known you, and you never mentioned wanting to get married. Now you're marrying 3 aliens at once. This I have to see." Word spread through the military network faster than Day expected. Former soldiers from across human space started requesting leave to attend. Some were curious, others were skeptical, but all of them respected Day enough to make the journey to Haven Colony. The alien responses were more surprising. When the Etherian Council learned that one of their daughters had found love instead of continued slavery, they sent their highest diplomatic representative. The Nexari Pride leader declared it an honor worth celebrating and dispatched a full ceremonial guard. The Vorthan telepathic circle was so moved by the story that they offered to perform the mind-melding ceremony personally. However, not everyone was pleased with the arrangements. Governor Chen of Haven Colony arrived at the farm 2 weeks before the wedding, accompanied by several legal officials and wearing a very serious expression. "Mr. Kim," he said formally, "we need to discuss this unusual marriage arrangement." Day invited them into his living room, where Hannah served tea with the natural grace that had developed over months of playing hostess to various visitors. "The issue," Governor Chen continued, "is that Haven Colony operates under standard human marriage laws. One person, one spouse. This polygamous arrangement you're planning isn't legally recognized." Mira's golden eyes flashed dangerously, but Day put a gentle hand on her arm to keep her calm. "Governor, these 3 women were slaves 6 months ago. Now they're free citizens of the galaxy who can make their own choices about love and partnership. Are you saying human law should restrict their freedom?" "It's not about restricting freedom. It's about legal precedent. If we allow this, what's to stop others from claiming multiple marriages for less genuine reasons?" Yuna, who had been quiet until now, suddenly stood up. Her telepathic abilities were picking up something important from the governor's mind. "You're not really worried about legal precedent," she said softly. "You're worried about what other colonies will think. You're afraid they'll see Haven as a place where humans abandon their cultural values." The governor's face reddened, caught off guard by her insight. "That's not entirely inaccurate." Day leaned forward, his old diplomatic training from military negotiations coming back to him. "Governor, what if this wedding became something that brought honor to Haven Colony instead of controversy? What if we made it a celebration of interspecies cooperation and understanding?" "What do you mean?" "Make it official, not just a wedding, but a cultural exchange event. Invite representatives from other colonies. Show them how different species can work together. Turn Haven Colony into a symbol of unity instead of division." The governor considered this, his political mind recognizing the potential benefits. That could actually work, but the marriage laws still need to be addressed. "Then change them," Hannah said simply. "Create new laws that recognize love in all its forms, as long as everyone involved is a consenting adult." 2 weeks later, Haven Colony became the first human settlement to legally recognize multi-partner marriages. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather and guests from across the galaxy. Colonel Park arrived with 12 of Day's old unit members, all wearing their dress uniforms and looking slightly bewildered by the alien diplomats mingling around. The farm. The Etherian representative brought crystals that sang beautiful melodies when touched by sunlight. The Nexari honor guard performed traditional battle dances that left everyone impressed and slightly intimidated. The Vorthan telepaths created a peaceful mental atmosphere that made even the most nervous guests feel calm and happy. The ceremony itself was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It began with human vows spoken under an arch of earth flowers and alien crystals. Day promised to love, honor, and protect his 3 wives, while they each promised to stand by him through whatever the future might bring. The Etherian light ceremony followed as the sun began to set. Hannah's crystal patterns blazed with joy, as she and Day held hands under beams of colored light that seemed to dance around them. The gathered crowd gasped as the light show painted the entire farm in brilliant colors. The Nexari bonding ritual came next, with Mira and Day sharing symbolic drops of blood while her honor guard sang ancient songs of loyalty and partnership. Even the tough military veterans found themselves moved by the fierce beauty of the ceremony. Finally, the Vorthan mind-melding took place in private, with only the 3 wives and the telepathic circle present. When they emerged from the house, all 4 faces glowed with a peace and joy that was impossible to fake. As the celebration continued into the night, Governor Chen found himself talking to Colonel Park near the refreshment table. "I have to admit," the governor said, "I've never seen 4 people more obviously meant for each other." Colonel Park nodded, watching Dai laugh as Mira attempted to teach him a Nexari dance, while Hannah and Yuna cheered them on. 30 years I served with that man. Never saw him truly happy until today. The wedding made news across the galaxy, but not as a scandal. Instead, it became a symbol of hope. The Kim family farm started receiving visitors from other species who had heard about the human who bought slaves just to set them free. Some came as tourists, others as pilgrims, seeking proof that love could transcend any boundary. Within a year, the farm had become an unofficial sanctuary for freed slaves and a training center for anti-slavery activists. Day's military experience, combined with his wife's unique skills, made them perfect for rescuing others and helping them rebuild their lives. The old soldier, who had planned to spend his retirement alone, had instead created a family, a movement, and a legacy that would inspire others for generations to come. And every morning, as he sat on his porch watching the purple grass wave in the breeze while his 3 wives worked together in perfect harmony, Kim Day knew that some of the best things in life really did come to those who simply chose to do what was right.